What is going on, guys? Scottie Rapp back with another video. Today, I am going to be going through how to run an effective illustration for the Flex Life product with National Life Group, also known as NLG. Okay, so the first thing you want to understand, right, is when you get into your back office, there's a few things going on, okay? But in order to get into the illustration tool, which the illustration tool is where you design the plan, where you build the report based on how you're funding the policy and different riders that you can attach to the policy, which I'm going to show you today from A to Z on how to make this make sense for your clients. So first thing you do, guys, is you go right over here to the illustration software, right? Or you can just click on this tab. I like to click the little lightning bolt. Going to click on illustrations. It's going to bring me right over to my illustration tab. And then the next thing I'm going to do is click on new illustration. Okay, when you click on new illustration, you're going to pick the state that you're writing the client in. For example, I'm just going to use the state of Texas. Okay, and then from here, you're going to see all the different products that would be available in this state. The one that we use is called the Flex Life LSW. Okay, the Flex Life NL, that's the one for New York only. So just forget about that one. You're going to be going right for the Flex Life product. So once you click the Flex Life product, guys, it's going to bring you right into the first page, the client information, where you can just put in your client's name. You can put in Michael Smith, for example. We'll just use a random name. We're going to make this client, a 35-year-old male. Obviously, as you guys know, like they're going to put them closer to their next birthday, whether they're 6 months closer to their next one or 6 months closer to their last one birthday. So if you see the age off, that's why. When I'm helping a client on Zoom and I'm showing them the illustration, which this is part of my process. So I would just have the client on the Zoom and I would show them exactly what the report looks like. You're always going to want to run based off standard non-tobacco. As you see, like NLG has a bunch of different health classes. They could get pushed up. They could get pushed down depending on what the underwriters see on the medical report. But I always tell the client, I'm going to run the illustration based off standard non-tobacco. If they push you up, great. If they push you down, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So you're always going to put it on standard non-tobacco. Next thing you're going to do, guys, is you're going to go to death benefit and funding. Okay. And this is where you really have to understand how the illustration software is going to, illustrate the plan depending on which option that you choose, right? So first thing that you want to understand is that the target premium, right? We'll go through all three of these different options here. We're going to look at based on target premium first. Then we'll look at the option where it's balanced death benefit. And then we'll choose the option like minimum death benefit, max cash accumulation. All of them have different ways of illustrating, but we're going to start with this one first, which is basically the client paying enough premiums to give the most insurance as possible, the most living benefits, and the most death benefit based on what they're contributing on a month-to-month or a year-to-year basis. So we'll start on this one first. Next thing we do is we go down to the premium mode, which, as we know, most of our clients just pay monthly. And then the next thing I like to do here, guys, is click on specify amount. So on the premium section here, I'm always going to do specify amount because that's going to allow me to choose the premium that the client is willing to contribute on a month-to-month basis and also show the numbers for that as well. So based off like $1,500 a month is what they're going to illustrate at first. You don't have to show the client that one right away. But say let's just do like a 35-year-old male, right, for $500 a month. And just so you know, this little section here, this basically means the client's going to pay from year one all the way to maturity, which is the day that they pass. Okay, so you can adjust this later, which we'll discuss the lifetime income benefit rider that I like to use on this plan, which would only have the client paying into about age 59 or 65, and then illustrating an income. We'll jump into that next. But just for simple purposes here, this would be about $6 grand a year that the client would put into the plan based off target premium. The next thing that you do is you look at the riders. Okay. So there's a few different riders that you can look at here. Obviously, like with NLG, they have critical illness, chronic illness, terminal illness, and critical injury and Alzheimer's disease benefits in their plan as well. They have 3 or 4 different living benefits based on the state. You can also add a children's term on there as well. And you can also add the balance sheet benefit rider, which would give access to the 100% of the client's surrender value year 1 in the policy, which we'll jump into in a second. Okay. And then the interest rates, as you guys know or may not know, this particular plan defaults to the US Pacesetter Index. So the US Pacesetter Index is a point-to-point strategy in the indexing world, right? It goes across agriculture, metals, and energy sectors in the US. It's a point-to-point strategy from a 1 year to 1 year standpoint, and it has no cap, okay? Meaning if the market does 10%, your client's actually going to get the full 10%. It also, as I make this recording, has a 215% participation rate, which means if the market does 10, the client's going to get over 20% in their accumulated value inside of their plan as well. Okay. So that's what this plan is illustrated off of. That's what it defaults to. You're going to see a 6.42 illustrated average on the outlay of the premiums and the accumulated value over here on QuickView, based on the $6 grand a year and based on 6.42% a year. That's the average of what they're going to show you on the illustration. And they typically base that off the last 20 years of statistical data, how the index or how the plan has performed in a whole. So the first thing you do is when you go and show the quick view here, you're going to show the $500 a month going into the plan as the premium. Okay. You're also going to see that on a yearly basis, which 500 times 12 is 6,000. Right away, guys, from this client's contribution, they're going to give the client $587,000 in death benefit protection, which is also going to convert to living benefits, which I'll show you on the next page once we get to the report. But the next thing you want to show here, guys, is the accumulated value, which this is the client's savings account with National Life Group. This is the money that's getting put into their policy and growing with that illustrated average 6.42% that we just discussed. Obviously, there's some years that could be less. There's some years that could be historically more favorable for the client on an increasing level. So based off that data, which is typically the last 20 years, you're going to see the client at age 45 would potentially have about 60,000 in liquid cash that they could be pulling from this account at that time. Now, remember, you do have a surrender value here. The first 2 years, not going to be able to pull out much. You know, a lot of companies, they have a 20 or 25-year surrender value. National Life Group is pretty short. First 2 years, it's a limit of what you can access. Remember, surrender value is what you can access out of this accumulated value. Okay, once you hit year 10 in the policy over here, the cash accumulation, right, and the surrender value are always the same, right? So right after year 10, guys, you could pull out 100%, have access to 100% of your funds right after the 10-year mark. Now, there is an option for the balance sheet rider, which I was showing you on the plan as well, which gives access to 100% of the funds year 1 in the policy, just so you guys know that. So just remember that there are certain riders that you can use that will change things on the back end as far as like structure of the policy, but there are ways where you can give the access 100% of access to their funds year 1. Okay, so next thing here is that's how the cash really builds, guys, right? So right here, we're going to have the client paying in until maturity. It's going to go all the way to age 120. That's how these plans illustrate to. Another good thing I like to show, though, is if we go back to max, you know, based on target premium, remember, that's the option that gives the client the most benefits as from an insurance standpoint. But if you go to, over here, say someone like 30 to 45 years old, they're looking to maximize their contributions and then pull an income from this plan. I like to put on what's called the lifetime income benefit rider. Okay. So this would potentially re-illustrate the plan. So the client only pays in to year 25 in the policy, which is going to be age 59. Okay. Once they hit 59, the plan's going to re-illustrate for a tax-free income for the rest of their life, from years 26 to maturity. So if you go back to the illustration, super cool benefit that I love putting my clients with if they're young enough and they're contributing enough. Um, basically here now what you're seeing is the same type of plan still from an insurance standpoint. The only main difference, right, is once they get to age 59, they stop making premium payments and they're now drawing a tax-free annual income for the rest of their life, starting at almost $16,000, right? So this is called a LIRP strategy, life insurance retirement planning. This is a way for your client to make sure that they have good insurance, good death benefit, good living benefits, but also building that cash value with the US pay setter. Remember, they have no loss potential within the plan. So basically, if the market drops, they're not going to lose any of their accumulated value. And when they take loans from this particular account right here, they actually borrow the money from National Life Group. And then they have to pay themselves back the loan rate, which is typically like 5.12, I believe right now. That's what it's illustrated at. But they don't pay taxes on the money that they earn. And that's why these plans are so powerful and popular, is because this is a way to accumulate cash value with having access to your own money, without having to pay taxes and leverage your own wealth in the middle of that, right? So you see at age 55, this client's going to have about, hypothetically $177,000 in liquid cash that they could be leveraging for real estate investments, business ventures, whatever the case may be at that point. And I really like the lifetime income benefit rider because it's going to make sure they pay the premiums until 59. After that, they know they don't pay another premium for the rest of their life, but they're now drawing a tax-free salary for themselves for the rest of their life. Now that's being re-illustrated off of the accumulated value and the death benefit. So notice, like, if you have the lifetime income benefit rider on, right, they're pulling the money from the cash value and they're also pulling the money from the death benefit, the insurance side, in order to guarantee that income, right? So just so you know, if you see like the death benefit getting lower as the years go on, that's what happens when you put this benefit on. Basically these other options over here, this is going to be for your clients, the balanced death benefit that don't have a huge need for insurance, but they still want a good death benefit to leave their family. It's just going to put more of their cash into accumulation mode and give them a little less death benefit. Like if you go back to the quick view and you see now the death benefit's a little lower on that option, and then the income and the accumulation is a tad higher because you're choosing the balanced version, which means majority of my money is going into cash accumulation and majority of it is going into the insurance piece, which is very beneficial as well. Also have the same option with minimum death benefit, max cash value. That's pretty much going to illustrate the plan. So, you don't put, you put as least amount of death benefit protection in place while also maximizing the contribution. So most of the money goes into accumulation mode. Mind you, that does lower the target premium for about 2,000, just so you guys know. It's gonna move down the target premium a little bit, but if that's a need for your client, that's always another option. You can also, illustrate an income with this option as well. You can also even extend the period that the client pays. So say they want to pay in until age 65, right? That's year 31 in the policy. You can go back to the illustration tool, and instead of them paying into age 25 or year 25, they can pay into year 31. You would just have to change this so the income starts coming at age 32, which is the year after that, right? And that's another way to beef up that income a little bit more for your client. You see how it went from 18,000 now to almost 32,000 in income. It's because we can either put more money into the policy, right, on a month to month, year to year basis, or we can extend the time frame that the client is contributing. So for this case, I just extended them from age 59 to 65, and it almost doubled their income, right, just from paying in another 6 years. So that's another option too, guys. Super powerful plan. You got to be careful of the MEC limit, right? You have the MEC premium, which is the premium that you can't go over within any given year, which would make the accumulated value taxable. There's always a certain limit as far as what you can contribute into the policy, so the money stays taxable and in or non-taxable and in the IRS code. I think NLG does a great job of doing that for us with the minimum death benefit max accumulation option. And those are pretty much my most popular options when writing this illustration, guys. I think that this is one of the better strategies that we have with National Life Group. I'll show you guys the actual report as well. So if you go right over to the report, guys, you're gonna see the report section. You're gonna check the little box. You're gonna run the report. It's gonna download the report for you, and then it's gonna bring you right to the page where you can break down the illustration right to the client. So first and foremost, they're gonna start their premium at about $500. They're going to get a death benefit of about 587,000, right? Which is a little over $500,000. By age 70, they're going to have about $139,000 in liquid cash, okay? Which is important to understand. And then also all the living benefits as well, meaning terminal illness, chronic illness, critical injury, and Alzheimer's disease benefit. Most of the companies out there, guys, they only give 1 or 2 living benefits. National Life Group gives 5, right? So super important to add value during your presentation with the client. They even have a chronic illness benefit rider that will pay them a monthly salary, right, at age 66 for the rest of their life tax-free. And that comes off the death benefit. That does not come off the cash value, just so you guys know that. Living benefits come from death benefit. They don't come from the cash value piece of the policy. Okay. Couple quick pointers. Tax-free income death benefit. Also the lifetime income benefit rider receives a guarantee stream of income for life for the client. And then the accelerated benefit riders are the living benefits that we just explained that are going to protect your client on the worst times of their life. Okay, and now a good page that I like to explain is the different indexes that the money goes into. So as you see, there's a few different options here that we can choose from. I like to choose, obviously, the US pace setter. This is the point-to-point no cap strategy. So there's no cap on this particular strategy. It has a 215% participation rate, right? Which means, long story short, if the market does 10, the client's going to get over 20 in their accumulated cash for that point-to-point crediting year, okay? The hypothetical returns by strategy, say off a 20-year, we have illustrated at about 14.5%, right? Based on data and projected hypothetical data. And then the maximum illustrated rate that you see on the illustration is 6.42. What's another good page we can look at here? Let me go down to the page where it kind of breaks down all of the different options for you. Mind you, guys, you have to remember as well that there are guaranteed participation rates with all the indexes. So with the US pace setter, the guaranteed index rate is 50%. Which means the company could bring it down, the participation rate down to 50% if they wanted to. Right now, it's at 215%, and it's different for every index, right? So today, I'm just going to be talking about the US pace setter index. This is the one that NLG defaults to. As you see, guys, in 2013, if the market would have did 9.87 for a particular index, anyone who had this plan, which is this column, would have got credited over 21% in their accumulated cash value portfolio. The next year we'll look at is like 2008, for example. So 2008 market did negative 0.48. If you had this plan, you got floored out at zero. Remember, there's a protectant for loss. Same thing for year 2011, market did 13%. If you were to had this plan, you would have got over 28% accumulation in your cash value account within your policy. And that's a point-to-point method. So each year they're crediting how much it did, and then they're giving you the interest credit based off the participation rate and what the point-to-point strategy did that year. Super powerful. I mean, 2022, horrible year for the market, negative 15%. We hit a zero floor for loss, right? So that's the power of IULs, is making sure that your money's protected from the downside. You can only win on the upside. Okay. Current illustrated loan value. So this is basically the illustration. Actually, it's this one, excuse me. If you go down to current illustrated values, it's gonna be down here. Oh, where is it? Yeah, right here. Cumulative values, I believe. Yeah. Yeah, there's a section that I'm looking for here. But basically, like, these are the different these are the different options that you would look at. The one you want to reflect from the original illustration is the average, the current, and the guaranteed illustration. So basically, with the current illustrated rate. So this is going to be your policy starting on year one. Okay. Basically the same thing that we showed on the last page, just in a policy, illustration format from a customer view standpoint. You're going to see the accumulated value, right? You're going to see the client's cash earnings and cash surrender value in these two columns. You're going to see the death benefit over here. You're going to see the average 6.42% rating that you see, which is the average illustrated rate that they show. And then you're going to see the planned, income, and then the planned, plan how it's going to play out as far from an insurance standpoint here. So these are just all good things to explain and look through with your client. These are super beneficial illustrations because they break things down from like a customer standpoint, but there's a lot of data in here. These are the alternate, illustrations right here, where they're showing a different illustration rate, I believe, of like 3.0, which would be like if the market only did 3.0, right, for the next X amount of years. Actually, it's 5.08, right? So that's the average. And then you're going to see the guaranteed values up here as well, which is like basically if the market did 0% for the next 100 years, which they have to show a guaranteed illustrated version as well. But you have the guaranteed, you have the alternate current illustrated values, which is a little lower, and then you have the the same thing for the next section. So basically that's how it's going to look from an illustration standpoint. And then from here, basically, you're going to be just utilizing the plan, explaining the benefits, going through the different illustration options as far as like max income. You're going to also touch on the living benefits. I really like to hone in on this page because it gives a good idea from like an insurance standpoint, what's going to get paid out on the back end if something happens medically or any sort of injury may arise, and death benefit, and then the cash accumulation piece. So that's basically how I'm going to illustrate the plan for my clients. If you like what you see, you can always just go right back to the quick view and save the report, right? You can save it under whatever name that you want. And then in order to do the application, guys, you're going to run right into the iGo app. Usually this is green after you save it. So I'm just going to save the case right here. And then once you do that, it should allow you, usually it just allows you to pull up the green app and you can get right into the application, which is through Pipeline. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. That was just a good little overview of National Life Group, how to run a basic illustration with them. Hope you guys got value out of that. And subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram, FFL exclusive. And I enjoyed doing these for you, and there's more videos to come. Talk to you soon, guys.